Hello, DrawClass! What is up, my sweet learners? I hope you've all got your learning caps on. Let's go full camera mode here for a sec. Hope you all got your learning caps on. You're ready to learn some information about streaming. Because at the end of this, all of you can become the top Twitch streamer in the world, potentially, with this information. We got some friends in chat here. I'm seeing Negapole, Xandrew Bird, Felicia S, Tiniest Hands, Queen of Hearts 32. Thank you all for being here. And thanks everyone, if you're watching this live or watching it later, for supporting us at the learner tier on the Drawfee Patreon. Appreciate all of y'all. Today, I gotta oil this mic arm. Today, David is here too. Hi, David. David, you don't need to know this information. Get out of here. Unless you're planning to become the world's top Twitch streamer, David, which you might be. I don't know what your plans include.
Hi, David.
Julia's saying hi.
Hi, David.
Hi to David.
Hi, David.
We also have Kylie Zemesco, hoping I was going to show up with the blingiest overlays. No, I'm not a blingy overlay user, and this is something we'll get into as well when we start the class, because there's a lot of different approaches to this type of thing. I'm going to show you my approach, and we'll also talk about other approaches you can have. But why don't we just get right into it, huh? So how I'm thinking this will work, I'm going to go through sort of my OBS and the way I have it set up, and how you can set it up to be sort of like mine if that's what you want. And we'll talk about all the stuff you can do in it. And then also, if you have any questions at any point during the presentation, I'll be happy to answer them. And then we'll also go over like overlays and stuff like that. Maybe we'll try to make the new Drawfee overlay on this stream, and then we can actually use it on the Drawfee stream. I think that would be a lot of fun. But let's switch our little thing here. Oh my god. This is also going to be a challenge to me because I got Streamlabs down here, and then I got OBS up here. I use two different ones. I use Streamlabs to stream to Drawfee just so I don't get confused when I go live. I always know which one I'm going live to. But I'm going to be showing you OBS, which I use for Secret Sleepover, and it is also my preferred thing, my preferred software. So let's click off of this. So here's OBS. This is not what it looks like by default. I can actually show you that. But probably the first thing you should know if you want to get into Twitch streaming is you need to make a Twitch account. That's going to be pretty crucial to the whole process. And then once you make a Twitch account, you can log in. You can download OBS. It's completely free, this software. And then you can log in on OBS with your Twitch account. And when you go live, it'll automatically connect to your Twitch and stream you that way. So just taking a look at OBS here. When you first download it, let's see if I can't show you. If I reset docs, is it going to ruin my life? It might. I think what we'll do is we'll turn off these. So this is usually what you'd see when you first get OBS. Let me actually turn my camera off so you can see everything. All the other stuff doesn't like appear by default. You kind of have to set that up yourself. But the way OBS works, it's kind of a left to right situation is how you read these menus down here. So on the left side, you've got your scenes, and scenes are basically just like a collection of all your sources. And so if you switch between scenes, like on Secret Sleepover, we have the starting soon scene. Let me make sure. Well, there's none of this you shouldn't be able to hear, but maybe you can hear. I don't know. I'm confusing myself with my having two streaming softwares open is the most confusing thing I've ever engaged with. So we have like a starting soon scene that has this up here where I've got all of our intro songs, in the sources, and our intro little titles as well, and our stream starting soon image here. And so we use this scene to collect all of these sources that we can switch between. And then once we want to start the stream, we can switch off of this scene, and I usually go to the webcam scene. The webcam is not showing up right now because I'm using it for this stream, and so OBS can't pick it up because it can only be used for one thing at a time. But if I bring my camera back real quick, hello. So on webcam mode, usually I'll show you like this. Usually we would be like up here, big. And then when we switch from webcam mode to gameplay mode, it switches us to be down here in the corner, and the game is big. And all that is like super easy to set up using these scenes and the sources. And once you kind of have it all set up, it's then like really easy to navigate from then on out. Put me up here for a sec. So then like once you're running your stream, you kind of want to have everything set up in such a way that you don't have to think about it much once you're like going. Then we've also got the Drawfee starting soon here for whenever we're doing Drawfee using this, which is not common, but so basically this is like how we have it set up. And then if we get into our sources here, if you're streaming, you'll likely be, you know, doing a webcam and then also streaming something on your screen. That's what most people do. So for that, you can go into your sources and you can start adding sources using this little plus icon here. So if we take a look here, you click plus, you get this menu that pops up. And these are all the different things that you can add to your stream. And they're mostly all pretty self-explanatory. Audio input capture is your microphone. So as you can see, I have my existing ones listed here. Mic/aux is typically like the default microphone input. And then we got audio output, which I use desktop audio. It just outputs everything that happens on my computer that makes sound comes through desktop audio. But you can also add like specific things as well if you want to like split things up differently. And I'll show you sort of how you do that as well. Then you got stuff, someone is screaming outside. Then you can add things like browser sources. This is really helpful for anything on a web page you want to show, or there are some things like if you want to have Twitch chat on screen, there's like a browser source thing you can do for that. Display capture, as the name suggests, captures an entire display. I will show you what that looks like because we have a display capture here. What monitor is this on? It's on this very same monitor. So if I turn that on, we're going to get the infinity effect because it's capturing itself over and over. But as you can see, it's capturing this monitor that we're on right now. So everything that happens on this monitor will show on screen. So you got to kind of be aware of that if you're streaming, that anything you put on the screen you're capturing, if you're using display capture, will show up. But it's different if you use a window capture, which captures instead a specific window on your screen. So then anything else you pull up won't show up. It's only going to show what's in the one window you're capturing. So these are kind of little nuances you learn as you go here. What else do we have? Game capture. This is primarily what we use, believe it or not, to capture a game. It works pretty easily. You can simply go into it and then it will list all like the specific windows you have up, and you can pick the window of the game that you're wanting to be on the screen. And that way it just makes sure you're not going to accidentally flash anything else on screen. You're not going to switch to a different window and ruin something. It'll always be just showing that one window. There's also other ways you can use it. You can use it to capture any full screen application, which will kind of make it automatically work. But that can be a little finicky sometimes. So I typically use it just sort of as a different window capture. What else do we have here to look at? that we use. We've got our overlay. The overlay is this just entire, all that you see outside of the windows here. So Julia made this overlay, looks very nice. It's got the like secret corporation vibe, which we were going for. So we'll go over the overlay making process later, but it's essentially just an image with big blank spots in it where your stuff is going to go. So it's not really complicated to make at all. You just make, and we'll go through it when we'll jump to Photoshop later to make one. But you just have to make an image that frames where your windows will be. And you can actually see a little bit how I did. Let me show you. Like for instance, where our webcam would be, we have this little drop shadow here so that it looks like it's kind of sitting on top of the other screen. So you can do little tricks like that as well. Okay. So basically, just to do a quick recap, you got all your scenes hold all your sources. And your sources are whatever you're going to use within that scene. It's the kind of thing where maybe it seems a little complicated on the outset, but it's really not. Once you get it set up to work for you, it'll be second nature using it. All right, so I think now it would probably be good to talk about the audio, because the audio is a little bit more complicated a lot of the times, just because in order to sort of get the best or most consistent audio, you kind of have to set up a set of filters that make your audio sort of, because you want it to be consistent in volume, but you don't want it to be able to blow people out, and you don't want it to get so quiet that people can't hear it when you're talking softer or talking louder. And so the answer to that typically is what I like to call compressing the shit out of it. And I will show you here how that works. So here's your audio mixer. Whatever audio sources you've put in will show up here in the mixer for that scene. And this is where you can sort of manipulate all of your audio while you're streaming. So you got your mute, your unmute, and then you got this thing where it turns the volume up and down for each individual source. So you can adjust that when your chat inevitably tells you that something is too loud or too soft 1,000,000 times per stream. So going into the mic, I feel like these are where the most important settings are, because so I feel like this is a good time to mention, I think that the most important things if you're streaming are clarity, both of your audio and your visual experience. So you don't want to you want everyone to be able to hear you in any listening environment, because some people are watching on their phones in the middle of a wind tunnel. Some people are watching at home on their noise canceling headphones in a silent vacuum sealed room, and you want it to be workable for both of those people. So that's what we're aiming for here, is like maximum clarity. So going into the mic settings here, you have this thing here called filters. And these are the filters that I use. And you can feel free to copy these settings. You'll probably have to tweak them though, depending on your own mic and how it sounds. So what I'll typically do when I'm working on this is I'll mess with a bunch of settings and then do a test recording and then listen to it. And then I'll tweak some things, then I'll do a test recording and I'll listen to it. And I do that over and over until I feel like it sounds good enough. And then even still, you'll probably discover little tweaks you can make along the way, like listening back to streams and stuff. But the first thing you want to have is a gain sort of floor. And gain basically like increases the volume of your mic input. So you're sending in like a mic signal to the computer, but the mic signal is usually pretty low. And you have to do something to like lift the signal. Because you don't want to just crank your mic up, because that's how you start getting like clipping and it will sound like distorted. So instead you want to send a quieter signal that you then boost using a filter, or if you have like a audio box sort of interface thing, you can also do it on there typically, but I like to do it here just because then I can adjust it more easily while I'm like mid stream if I have to. So for me, I have this is a pretty aggressive 20 decibel boost to the audio, because what I want to happen is no matter how softly I'm talking, you still hear what I'm saying. The downside to a high boost like this is it does also boost background sound, but we have some ways to mitigate that as well coming up. But you'll notice that, like, because I also have the exact same filter on what I'm streaming on right now, where you're currently hearing me. So you'll notice that if I talk at my normal voice, it sounds really legible, but I can also talk really softly, and it's still coming through just as loud. And I can talk from back here, and you can still hear me. And I can go back here, and you can still hear me. Or if I'm really close and I'm getting a little loud, you can still hear me. And so that's the goal of this super high gain that I have here. I want to be able to be heard in like all conditions, because sometimes, you know, you're getting up out of your chair, you're yelling, you're falling over, and you still want to be like audible even when that's happening. Exactly. Check this out, Xandrew Burt. Ideally, I know in that famous instance where I yelled, check this out, and then annihilated everyone's eardrums, it didn't work out perfectly. But ideally, you do have a setup where when you make a loud noise, like I often scream on Secret Sleepover, it doesn't actually blow out the mics like that. And this stuff takes a lot of experimentation. So if you're working on this yourself, you'll probably have to mess around with it and see what works for you. So after the gain here, I have a noise suppression that I don't actually use. Sometimes the noise suppression can work super well at eliminating background noise, but I found that it also can occasionally introduce some like auditory weirdness based on like what it decides is noise or not. So sometimes it can like misunderstand. If I'm making like a sound with my mouth, it'll be like, that's noise. And I'm like, that's not noise, that's me. I'm a person. So it can make things a little weird sometimes with noise suppression. You can experiment with it and see if it works for you. If you're like a normal talker where you're not like making horrible goblin noises ever, it might work great. But I typically don't use this. I just have it here in case I decide I want to mess with it again in the future. The noise gate is what I do use. So what the gate does is it essentially turns off the mic completely when the sound coming into the mic is below a certain threshold. So in this case, it's like if the sound is below minus 32 decibels, then the mic just shuts off and it's silent. So anytime I stop talking, you'll hear that it'll just go completely silent. And right now there are a lot of noises happening. There's beeping outside. We got the window open. There's like wind and cars and stuff like that. But you won't hear that stuff when I'm not talking. When I am talking, you might hear it. But at least it makes things silent when we're silent, which is nice. And a lot of people don't get bothered if there's background sound while you're also speaking, because the speaking is the thing to focus on rather than the background noise. But if you're quiet and they're hearing like wind tunnel sounds, they typically don't like that so much. These things here, attack time, hold time, release time, this just means that like, so attack time is how quickly the gate will like open, essentially. So like once I start talking, it's like really, really fast to be like, oh shit, there's sound, let it through. Then when I stop talking, it holds for a bit at the sort of open threshold, and then it releases a little bit slower, so it's not so abrupt when you hear the sound cut out. So that's what these do. And attack time and release time, you'll see these a lot on a lot of these filters. And generally speaking, you want a pretty fast attack and a slower release, and that's kind of how you make it sound a little less aggressive to people's ears. I hope all this is making sense to all y'all. I know this is like a lot of information that I'm throwing at you, but my kind of hope for this class is that you can come back to it and like look through the different segments when it applies to you if you're getting set up. Like, I don't expect you to remember everything I'm saying for the entire class all at once, but I'm hoping you can like come back and be like, okay, where was that part where he was talking about the noise gate? And then you can like have your thing up and you can go through it with me and, you know, either just copy my settings and forget about it or try to like sort of understand what the settings do. So yeah. Okay, the compressor is probably the most important of the filters. This is the one you're going to definitely need. So for instance here, we boosted the gain by like a shit ton, right? What that means is that the audio is essentially going to be blasting at max volume like all the time. It would be really painful to listen to. What the compressor does is it takes the audio signal and it says, once it hits a certain threshold of volume, we're going to take everything above that volume and we're going to compress it down so that it doesn't exceed sort of this average level. So in this case, I've got the ratio of the compressor at 3:1. It basically means like for every 1 decibel it goes above that limit, it gets pushed down like 3x, I believe is what that means. It's something to that effect. The higher this number, the more aggressive the compression is, essentially. And then the threshold is the volume level at which it starts compressing. So for me, I've got it at minus 18 decibels. That's where the compressor like kicks on once I exceed that volume amount. Then here's these settings again that I talked about before. We got the attack, which as you can see, once again, is very, very short because you want it to kick on fast. And the release, which is a bit longer so that it fades off a little slower so it doesn't like sort of pop down. And then once you have compressed your stuff, you can also apply more gain at the end. So basically, if you got your gain floor set up and you got your compressor set up, and then you're like, okay, it's compressing it really well, but it's a little quieter than I want it to be, but I do like how it's standardizing the sound. You can use this, it's sort of like make up the lost gain of what you've compressed. So if you're a little too quiet after you got your compressor going, you can boost this up to get a little bit more volume out of your now compressed audio track. If that makes any sense. I think it does. And then lastly, we have the limiter. And the limiter is basically just like a mega aggressive compressor. And so what it does is once it hits the threshold, it's like essentially like a no line. It's like your audio will not pass. It's like Gandalf with the staff, and he's like, your audio will not pass this line. So if you get super loud and I do something that's louder than -2 dB, the limiter will put like a hat on it and be like, you cannot go above 2 decibels. We're compressing it down as aggressively as possible to prevent it from sort of reaching past this threshold and peaking the volume. So that's always good to have just in case something super loud happens. You have like this is like a fail safe, so you don't blow people's ears out with a classic check this out situation. So those are the filters I use for my audio. If you do something like this for your own audio, you'll end up in a good spot. And so I recommend just trying to, you can literally just like copy these settings, record it, see how it sounds, and then, make adjustments here and there. If it's too loud, you can lower the gain here, or you can lower the output gain on the compressor. If it's too quiet, you can boost the gain. Yeah, pretty much if it's too quiet when you're talking quietly, you want to boost this gain down here. This is like the underneath gain. And if it's too quiet when you're loud or talking normally, then you want to boost this gain right here. This is like the on the top gain on top of everything, to put it in normal ass terms. Okay, I don't know if anyone has any questions about this audio stuff. Feel free to toss them in the chat. I'm going to go over one more thing while I wait to see if anyone has any questions. And that one more thing is some filters I use on the desktop audio, which is, this would be like the video game audio. There's two things I use for this. One of them is, this is a compressor. It's called ducking because I renamed it so that I would know what it was for. But what this means, ducking, it means I'm using this thing right here called the sidechain / ducking source. And what that means is when audio happens on the microphone, it applies this compressor here to this audio, which essentially means when we talk on the mic, it lowers the volume of the video game. And then when we stop talking, it raises the volume of the video game back up. This is like super helpful if you want to make sure your voice never gets drowned out by game audio. But also if it's a game with like dialogue in it, you can leave the game audio up high, and then when you stop talking, the game audio will go up and everyone can hear the game audio better during like dialogue scenes. But then when you're talking, it'll go back down, and they'll be able to hear whatever you're saying. So super, super helpful. I highly recommend doing this. For this one, I have a pretty high ratio of compression, because what you want is when you start speaking, you want that game audio to get out of the way aggressively and very quickly. So quick attack, super high compression, 20:1. And yeah, the threshold here is not super important because you don't want this, you just want it triggering when you're speaking. So yes. And then I also have a limiter on the game audio as well. And this is just so that even if the game is turned up really loud, it will never be too loud for the listener. And so I have this set to -15. So no matter what the game is doing, if the game hits -15, it won't go higher than that point. Because any higher than that, you start getting into dangerous territory auditorially. And you can see here, like when I'm talking, we're usually hitting like around -10 here. I can actually unmute this. That shouldn't be a problem. And you can see like the different colors here. I usually aim for like the high end of the yellow. I find that's like a good spot to aim for, just so it's like really, really loud for people who are listening on like subpar listening experience, their environment or their device or anything like that. I know that wisdom might tell you don't ever want to go in the red because red is bad, but that actually doesn't really mean anything here. Really, you just don't want to go above 0. Going above 0 is very bad. If you max out the bar, that's really bad. So you don't want to do that, but anything else is pretty much fair game. I just like to be here. It seems to be like a pretty good middle ground choice. But this is why I have the game never go higher than -15, because I don't want the game to ever be quite as loud as I can talk. Even when I'm not talking, I think it should be a little bit quieter. So that's why I have that compressor set right there. And then I often just adjust this slider depending on what we're playing. Some games are louder than others. So if I find that it's like hitting the compressor a lot, then I lower it down a bit. Okay, now I do have some questions in chat. When you guys were having the issue with echoing, was that an issue with a Twitch audio setting? I'm trying to remember which issue with echoing we were having. Because I vaguely remember this. Sometimes you get echo because of your environment. And we used to record at mine and Julia's old apartment, which was a big room with really high ceilings, and it just had a lot of echo in the room, which can cause a bit of an issue. I think just when a lot of you were talking at once. I have a recollection of this, but I'm going to be honest, I don't remember what the problem was. But the good news is we don't have that problem anymore. Sometimes there can be a little bit of like a echoier sound, just if there's a lot of people and a lot of mics in the same room, there's going to be cross contamination with the mics, like picking up each other. So that's another thing you could look out for. Lenny Arc asked, do you use these settings for recording and or voice chat or only when streaming? These are mainly the stream... Julia did a big cough. These are mainly the streaming settings. When we record, we usually like to send a raw signal into our recording software. We use Adobe Audition. But you could also use Audacity for free if you're just recording audio. So we usually like to send a raw signal in because then you can manipulate that signal really easily into whatever you want it to be after the fact. Whereas if you do like a pre-compressed signal like this, it kind of is what it is when you get it, and it's harder to sort of mess around with in post. But yeah, so when we record, we typically do the raw signal uncompressed, and then when we stream, we load it up with compression because it's for different purposes, you know. And for voice chat, I usually just... Most voice chat programs like Zoom or Discord have like a built-in level of like gain boost and compression that they use. And so you typically don't really need to do anything with those. Like unless you just notice that your stuff is like way too quiet, then you might need some sort of lifting device. But usually when we use like Zoom or Discord, we just use the default settings or just turn the mics up louder if we need to, because it's not as important to have high quality for that. Okay. What else to talk about? We should talk about the stream settings. Oh, I should talk about the docs first. We'll talk about the docs, then we'll talk about the settings, and then we can go from there. And if anyone has any questions, like as I'm going, feel free to pop it in the chat and I'll get to it once I reach a stopping point. Okay, so like I said before, this is what you'll see when you open OBS for the first time. It will probably look like this. But there's this handy little thing up here called the Docs menu. And the docs can be used for all sorts of helpful things. That will help you sort of maintain your stream all from this window, so you don't have to have like Twitch's dashboard open at the same time. So I use this option here called full height docs. I highly recommend this. It basically means you can have the doc go from the complete top to the complete bottom, rather than stopping before they hit this bottom section. I like to have them full height, especially for chat. So I'll show you the ones that I use here. I use, of course, the chat doc, which has popped up over here, as you can see. Let me turn off my camera for a sec, or I can just move it maybe. Let's move me down. Just put me right in the middle for a sec. Yeah, so I have a doc for chat. This is where all the Twitch chat stuff will show up. I usually have this whole window on my left monitor. I've got two monitors here, and then I have a third, my drawing tablet down here. So I keep my chat on the right side of my left monitor, so it's sort of right in the middle of my vision. It's actually where chat is right now for this stream. I'm looking at chat right now. So I usually have OBS over on this other monitor, and that's where I put chat, just so it's easy to see out of the corner of my eye. Because I don't want to miss any chat messages. No one wants to miss chat. Then I also use this one here called stats. I don't use that one. That's a lie. I lied to you accidentally. I use this one called stream information. This is the one where if you're setting up your stream, you'll put in your title and your whatever game you're playing over here, and you'll click done to update all this to make sure that it is set correctly when you start the stream. If you don't set this correctly, it will use whatever old title and game you had in there, which I've done plenty of times accidentally. You can also set it up here to do any like content classification if it's like not suitable for certain viewers, or if you're doing branded content. They got a button here to click for that to let everyone know that you're doing sort of a branded stream. And you can put in your tags, your audience, and your stuff like that. So this is what you do before you start stream. Then I use Twitch stats. This one shows you your subscribers and your followers and your viewers and like your clips and how long you've been streaming and the number of people currently watching your channels. This is just where all your stats go to help show you what's going on in your stream, and you can keep sort of an eye on it. Then we have the Twitch activity feed. This is where all the subscriptions will show up and the gifted subs and things like that. And raids and things like that. We have like a filters setting here, so you can see that the only things that I have show up are gifted subs, power-ups, which I will probably turn off, raids, and subs. Subs, gifted subs, and raids are the things that I think are the most important to keep an eye on. If you're like just starting out and you have like a smaller stream, you might want to have more of these things on, so you can sort of see like, you know, what everyone is doing and be sure to like shout out the people that are watching. But like as your view count gets bigger, it becomes really hard to like maintain all of that information without just like doing that entirely for the whole stream, which is a good problem to have. But I think in that case, I like to pare it back to just like certain things that I have appear here. And then the last doc I use is the ads manager, which is right here. I'll make this a little wider so you can see it. Got to make everything a little wider so you can see it. So this essentially just tells me, I have the ads set up on Secret Sleepover so that they happen. We run 3 minutes of ads once per hour, which is just like, I think, sort of a nice cadence for them. They don't feel like they interrupt too badly. And then when they come up, 3 minutes is long enough that I can stop what I'm doing and hang out for the ad break and then resume without anyone having to miss anything. So the ads manager essentially just tells me when the next ad is going to happen so that I can be aware of it, even though I miss it almost every single time. But at least the info is here. If I choose to look at it, the info is here and it will tell me when the ad is happening. And if the ad is coming at like a bad time, you can snooze it for 5 minutes using this button. You can kind of put it on hold for a bit. And if you're at a good time to run ads early, you can run them with this button. This kind of only applies if you're, I think, an affiliate, or is it partner? I don't remember which level you have to be at to be able to run ads. It might be a partner program thing, but something to keep in mind for like as you stream and as you grow your stream, more of this stuff will become pertinent to you over time. Okay, so this is how I have it set up when I'm streaming every time. And I find this works super well for me, and it lets me keep an eye on everything easily. And so, you know, something like this, I think it's a good way to lay it out. It feels like having your own like little battle station that you kind of keep track of. And I feel like Ozymandias and Watchmen, like I'm looking at like all the different screens and like collating all the information. So I think next what I'd like to talk about is the settings here. The settings you'll want to use for your stream to make it sort of like look how you want it to look and stuff like that. So when you get OBS, you will just basically pick what service you're streaming on, and you can log into that service through OBS. So it's automatically connected now to my Twitch. And you just keep the server on auto, and that will like get your stream into the right place. For output, you can set like all your streaming stuff here. I don't really use audio multitrack or anything, but you can do that. What is important though is your encoder settings here. I have mine set to CBR, which is a constant bit rate. It basically aims to maintain the same bit rate the entire stream. And the bit rate that I use is 6,000. It's just like a good go-to number. I think like much higher than that doesn't really, like Twitch doesn't support it even. So I think this is kind of like sort of the highest you can do, but this will depend on your internet upload speed as well. So I think like the general rule, if I remember, is you want to have like an upload speed that's like at least double your bit rate. So this is like 6 megs, 6,000 kilobytes per second is 6 megabytes per second. So you'd want to have an upload speed that was like 12 megs per second or higher. If I'm remembering that rule correctly, generally you just want to have some upload overhead so that you're not using up your entire upload rate with your stream. You want to have like enough left over to do other things you might need to be doing on the stream. Then all this stuff I don't really do anything with. The bit rate's really the important thing. And then the other important thing is in the video setting here, you can see that I've got my base resolution. My monitors are 1440p. So this is the resolution of my monitors, but then we're streaming at 1080p. So we're scaling the stream down to 1920 by 1080. But things will work best if you have your actual monitor resolution here and the scaled down resolution here. And then the common FPS values are 60 because both my monitors are I have them set at 120 hertz refresh rate, and 60 is half of 120, so it's good when they're like evenly divisible with each other. Yeah, I think that's all the stuff you need to know there, and that will get you going good. I just accidentally changed a setting. That's fine. We'll hit cancel. Okay, so are there any questions about any of this stuff before we move on to something else? I will wait to see. I know that's like a lot of information, like I said, but it really is the kind of thing where you just like get started with it with like the basic stuff, and then over time you'll like slowly accumulate more and more of this. It will like more become second nature to you. But if you're thinking of getting into streaming, don't let this be overwhelming. Just like take what you can from it, whatever makes sense to you, and just get started on it. And then like once you get used to what you're doing, you can start folding in more and more little nuance and stuff like that. So that is what I recommend. So I think next maybe we'll go into like making an overlay. Will be the next thing we do. I guess I could say too, if you want to know the specific gear that we're using here. These mics are Shure SM7Bs. They're very expensive microphones. I would not recommend getting one of these until you are like well established in whatever you're doing, because they're just, I mean, they're amazing microphones, but they're not worth it unless you can like sort of afford to get them. I also have here, the mics are connected to this Rodecaster Duo, which I can't really show you because it's down here, but you can look up Rodecaster Duo, RODE caster, and it's essentially a 2-mic interface where you can adjust like your volume levels, and you can even adjust filters and stuff on there if you want to do that instead of in OBS. I think it's a great little thing. It's even got little buttons on it for like triggering sound effects and samples and things if you want to do that. You can also, if you're a musician, connect guitars and whatnot to it as well. So it's a great little interface. I highly recommend it. And then our camera we use up here is it's a Sony something or other. I can't tell, but it's a DSLR that we have connected through the Elgato Cam Link, which is a little device that you can plug a camera into and it will make it work like a webcam. You just have to make sure that you are using a camera that can function that way. But you can also just get a webcam. Like you don't need to have a DSLR or any of this stuff. When we started out, we were using a Logitech webcam and a Yeti Snowball microphone, which both of those things are fairly cheap. And honestly, they work great. They're like good enough for having a successful stream. The other stuff is stuff that you should like get as you go if you are like trying to make a job out of it and you're at the place where it makes sense to do so, but it's not necessary at all. Okay. I think we'll just go to maybe looking at how to make an overlay next. Because I think that's all the information I have regarding this. Do I have 4 of those mics? We have 4 of them at Karina's place for Drawfee. And then me and Julia have 2 here because we're the only ones who stream from here, so we only have the 2. But yeah, we have 4 of them at Karina's for Drawfee stuff. They're just sort of like industry standard microphones for like professional work. Okay, let's go over to Photoshop. I'm actually going to, and why don't we'll get like a nice gray canvas so I'm not blinding people. And we will use this to try and sort of, I'll show you how to go about making an overlay. You can use like any program like Photoshop, any of like the free ones should also work. So it shouldn't be too bad. I'd like for this to go away. Okay. So, if you're making an overlay, you obviously want to start with a canvas that is the same dimensions as your screen. So this canvas, let me bring this over here. This canvas is, if I go to inches here, that's not inches. If I go to inches here, it's 16 inches by 9 inches, which is the ratio of most monitors. So you just want to make sure that it's like the correct ratio, and then it's like a large enough canvas that it can work for like any sort of resolution you might be working at. So mine is specifically 16 by 9, 300 pixels per inch. This is basically the general canvas we use for everything we do, including art, including Drawfee. We have it at 16 by 9, 300 pixels per inch. It's just a great standard canvas size to use. You can go bigger on this if you're doing like print work or something, but for this should be perfect. Then what I like to do is sort of dictate where our screen regions will go here. So for instance, I know we're going to have a 16 by 9 drawing area that we'll use. So I'm just going to essentially highlight my entire canvas because I already know that it's 16 by 9. And I'm going to, all of my windows are popping up in the wrong place. I'm just going to fill this with a color so that I have a box that is the right size, ideally not on the background layer. And then I'm going to shrink this box to, while keeping the dimensions, the aspect ratio here. I'm going to shrink this box, and this will be where like our drawing area will be, or if you were gaming, this would be where your gaming area would be. And I might even, for Drawfee, maybe leave a little bit of border on the sides. So basically you want this to be the majority of the screen, obviously. I tend to be partial to, like on Secret Sleepover, how we have it set up where, just going back to OBS for a sec, where we have the game screen a little smaller and the camera overlaying it a little bit just in the corner. I find that this keeps us out of the way most of the time. A lot of problems that streamers will have is like some streamers will do like full screen game, and then they just have their camera like floating around on the screen somewhere, and then they have to like move their camera all over the place depending on what they're playing, which I find kind of irritating. But if that's something that doesn't bother you, then that could also be a good option. And it's also a really simple option to do. Just to take a look at it real quick. Like if you wanted to do that, all you would really need to do is make a box for your camera to go in. And like we'll just do, this will just be like a for example situation. We'll take this box here and we'll add like a stroke to it. And maybe we bevel it so it looks like a little window. And then maybe it's got like a little drop shadow. Sort of like a hard drop shadow. Make that smaller. Make it sort of go like this. That would be a cute little window. So you could take something like this and then, you know, take the background away so it's transparent. And this would be like a perfect place to just like bring this, save this as a PNG, bring it into your thing. I'll just show you actually. Why not just show you? The only problem is I don't want to save it where you can see my files. So give me one sec here. We're gonna pop up the black box. You can still look at me though. Hi. We'll just save this. And when you're doing stuff like this too, it's better to, you can save it as like as big as you want and then just like resize it within OBS. If you have something that's bigger and you resize it down, it will look crisper than if you save it just at the size. So we're gonna export this. We'll just call this webcam border. And then probably what I would do, if we go back to OBS here and we also take away this, well, let me just put it in. Well, no, this is fine. This is fine. You could do a, we'll just go to this sort of blank one here. And you would want to add a source that was an image. And just want to make sure I don't dox myself. I'm just going to the file browser and I'm just picking the image that I just made. So you can see that I have picked it and it has showed up in here. So then you can resize this to whatever size you plan for your camera to be. And then you can take your webcam and just sort of, I'll fake it for you right here. You could just sort of slot it in. And I can't tell because I can't see well enough if that's like in there, right? But you get the gist of what I'm saying here. You could just slot it right on top. You don't even have to have like a transparency. You can just plop yourself right in there. And then you could even, if you wanted to, like, because I got webcam here, image here, you can take these and you can group them and they'll go in a folder together. And so then when you move the folder, they would move simultaneously. So that's an easy way to make a webcam overlay, just to have like a little bit of distinction between your cam and the rest of the image. But what I like to do, and what we'll probably do for Drawfee, can I delete you, please? I deleted the webcam. There we go. Let me just move this back real quick. Oop. What we'd probably do for Drawfee is I'd like to have a a large area of drawing screen, and maybe even we'll zoom it in, zoom the canvas in. We'll test all this out here in a sec. Large area of drawing screen, and then I'm gonna duplicate this layer. And I'm gonna change the color to something that's easy to see. And this could be where like the camera is. So maybe something like that. Let me turn off my cam so you can see what I'm doing. So maybe something like this, and then we could just have like this area behind it blocked off where we just won't draw in that spot. I think something like that could be pretty good. And then maybe we would put like a border around this like we did before for that other one we made. Go for sort of like a beveled stroke look. A little bit less depth there. Go for a drop shadow. So that it sort of shades over the screen area there. And so what I'd probably do here, like if this is going to be where the webcam is, I would save this as an image by itself. And then whatever I'm going to do with this, I will save as an image by itself. And then I can put them in the program like one on top of the other. But okay, so this is where we'll be drawing. I think just to get an idea for it, let's make it like the canvas color we normally use. Which is DC, DC, DC. DC, DC, DC. And the camera will go right here over the top of it. And then I think maybe we would put like a shadow behind this as well to make it sort of pop. Maybe like that. And this is just like going to be a very basic one. I don't think I'm going to get into like the weeds on this, but this is just to show you like how easy it is to set up if you're just trying to like get something functional that looks fairly nice. And then maybe we could make like a tiled sort of like Drawfee mug situation to put in the background. Let's see. I'm going to hide this again for a sec. Hi, everybody. While I fetch the Drawfee mug image. If I click on the right things. There's the mug. It's hiding right now. It's ashamed. Turn that off. Mug. Mug, hello. Our largest mug yet. So maybe we could make like a pattern out of this. That's what we're going to try to do. So I think, let me just turn this stuff off real quick. And we'll, we're going to make a mug pattern. Because I think it could work pretty well if we use sort of the red. This is also going to test my ability to remember how to make a pattern in Photoshop, which I don't remember how to do. But maybe I can yell for Julia to help me. But I'm thinking something like this. If we tile it. Sort of get that mostly in the middle. And then I think we're going to merge the layers. I think if we sort of select this, we can do a... We can do a... Oh no. I don't remember how to do it, man. Pattern stamp? Pattern? New pattern. Wait, let me see if I can ask Julia because I don't remember how to do this. Give me one sec. This is why you always work with other creatives, so they can tell you how to do something when you forget.
Hi.
Julia's here to help me.
I was on the phone with my grandma because it's her birthday.
Happy birthday, Grandma. So I got this.
Yeah.
I just want to make it into a pattern.
Okay. Usually you like crop down into it just to be safe.
What do you mean crop down into it?
So that it's only...
Oh, just this?
Yeah, yeah.
I see.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. Let's do... We'll copy this. We'll make a new file.
Yeah. Cool. So I think if you go up to like edit, usually I have to do some, because it's been a while since I've made define pattern.
Define pattern. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. And then, yeah, you name it, and then you can use your little pattern stamp tool or whatever.
Drawfee pattern.
Hi, Olive. Olive's here.
I knew it was easy.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow.
So then we should be able to do...
Whoa.
Great. So we just need to fix the pattern so that it's smaller.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which you can totally do by...
Uh-huh. Usually I just make it physically smaller in the pattern thingamabob.
There's got to be a way, right?
To change like the pattern size?
To change like the size of the pattern?
I don't know. Because in the past I've made it just like kind of smaller in general, like the preset.
Right.
I've made that like smaller. So yeah, whatever that size is, go to like image size.
I'm just irritated because I'm like, I know there's a way.
Yeah, probably. I just haven't.
There's got to be a way.
Yeah.
What about pattern stamp? Pattern stamp is not the answer. You think it would just be like, right click and there would be like pattern settings or something, right? Or you think this would have it?
Nah. I usually just make it.
I guess that's what I'm gonna have to do. I'm just not happy about it.
Yeah. I get it. Also, something you can do to keep like the clarity up of the image if you're worried about it scaling down and getting blurry or scaling up and getting blurry is that you can convert it to a smart object.
Oh.
Yes, and then it'll like kind of vectorize it.
Yeah. Smart object.
There you go.
Very, very smart.
Hey.
Of you to do. We'll just try making it like 500. And then we will define pattern.
Define pattern.
Drawfee pattern.
Wait.
That's probably better.
Yeah, that's cute.
We can like adjust it, obviously. Except how do you just like adjust the pattern? There's got to be a way. I know there's a way you can put a pattern on here and then adjust the pattern.
Well, there's also the pattern stamp tool. Oh.
That makes trees.
That makes trees.
But that still has the pattern.
Look how soft they are.
The pattern in the same locations.
Yes.
I want them to be in different locations.
I'm just obsessed with it being like kind of ghostly.
The airbrushed Drawfee mug.
Yeah. Wow.
That's beautiful.
This is what an aura migraine looks like.
Yeah, if you're staring at the Drawfee mug.
This is what
for
our
too long.
aura migraines look like.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I feel like I'm gonna have to look more into this.
Do you want me to Google it while you continue? I can do that. We can multitask it.
I mean, you can do it. Just over here trying to make a dang overlay, you know, and they don't want to let us do it. They want to keep us down. I think that's messed up. Julia's gonna look it up for us.
Whoa. Okay, I got it.
She's got it.
Okay. So if you go to layer. If you go to new fill layer.
New
Up.
fill layer.
There it is.
Pattern.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Hit it with a okay.
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 It's
so
trees.
Now,
the trees are honestly beautiful. Maybe
the
we should just
trees
go with
are,
that.
I mean, it's given like a nice cozy rainy vibe.
This is what I wanted. I
And
can
now
scale,
you can scale it.
Wow.
We're learning things today.
Incredible. And I thought this was and I can do it like this.
You know,
That's how I
sometimes when you
wanted.
teach, you learn too.
When you teach, you really learn.
Isn't that great?
The teacher has become the learner.
Whoa. This
That's
is incredible.
amazing.
Incredible stuff. I'm going to get myself a drink. Would you like something?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think these should be much smaller.
Do you need me for anything else?
You
just let me know. I'll be sitting right behind
you. I don't think so. I want to adjust this pattern more is what I want to do. I can angle it. I can make them go sideways. This is huge. This is huge for us. Okay, this is pretty cute. It is making my computer lag horrifically. But you know, we're learning. And I think that's beautiful. So we could get something like this as a background. And then it might be like a little too red. We might have to fade it out just a touch so that it's not distracting. Just gonna, nope. I'd like a white background, please. Thank you. So we can like knock it back a bit, maybe. Or will that be too light? These are the questions you have to ask yourself when you're doing this stuff. That's kind of nice. Keep in mind this purple is not the color of anything. That's just there to represent where the screen will be. In fact, let's just make it black. Chat disconnected. What do you mean chat disconnected? Successfully connected? Am I still here? Am I still alive? Can everyone hear me? Am I alone in this world? Welcome back. Thank you, Swab Peanut. You could always hear me? I'm still here? Scary stuff, man. I kind of like going for like this sort of video gamey window text box look. Maybe if we make the stroke a little smaller. I feel like this is kind of cute. And then if we make maybe the drop shadow, do I want this to also be in like a cute little window? Let's see, let's try it out. Let's have fun. Have some fun here. Let's actually just copy these layer styles. We'll paste the layer styles. Paste the hairy styles. I kind of like it. I kind of think it's kind of cute. I think we bring in the drop shadow a bit. Maybe like that. And maybe we put like a little bit of a gradient over the pattern just to give it a little bit of motion in the ocean. Maybe we go like, I'm just completely in the weeds on talking now, so it's called the creative process, sweetie, look it up. What the fuck is that? What is that? Why is my pattern not connecting all the way? And what is that? What? Hey! This is fricked up. Whoops. Can we just... We all good here? The pattern's got like there's like a slight line in there. But do I care? Do I care about that?
Whoa. That angle.
So I'm going for something like little game screens.
Oh yeah.
Kind of look maybe.
Cute. Little tablet look.
Little tablet look. Little Pokemon Snap menu.
Oh, I was thinking like 3DS.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know.
I know.
You know.
You don't got to tell me.
You know.
That's the wrong thing. I want to do this. I want to make this drop shadow a little less aggressive. Huge. And then before I was so rudely interrupted by that weird thing, I was going to add a little bit of a gradient. Oh my God. It's so laggy. Why? Something like this. And then maybe we hit it with like a soft light. And then maybe we have a second gradient that gets a little darker towards the bottom. Could it be the greatest overlay anyone's ever used? Go like that, maybe do a little multiply. Oh, because it's clipped to the pattern, we want to unclip. Yes, yes, yes. Maybe something like that. Is that crazy? I feel like it could work. It could be. It could be the overlay we've all been dreaming of. So in this case, what I would probably do, and then we'll try to like set it up in the thing, and I'll show you how I would do that. Because I would probably just maybe save it in like multiple layers. Let me save this whole file first so I don't lose it. One sec, we're going anti-doxing mode. We'll call this Drawfee test overlay. And then let me just see something real quick. Okay. So I think if we turn these off, I'll just do the background first. And we're just going to export that as a PNG. We want it to be at 1440. Wait, did that change the pattern? Did I rasterize this gradient? You got to remember, in modern Photoshop, you got to rasterize all your gradients, or else they're going to get messed up. How fun is that? We'll rasterize this as well. Rasterize everything. Okay. Now we're going to save this background at 1440. Beautiful. We will export that. Drawfee test overlay BG. Then we're going to get this screen, which is where the canvas will go. And we're going to export that. Drawfee test overlay screen. Then we're going to export where the webcam goes. Drawfee test overlay webcam. All right, and now we should be able to go back into OBS here, and we'll go into our Drawfee scene. We'll just make a new scene. Why don't we do that? Drawfee new. And we're gonna add in our sources here. So we're gonna do an image. This will be Drawfee test overlay BG. And gonna pull that in. And there it is, beautiful, fits right to it. Then we're going to add another image. Drawfee test overlay screen. And we're going to bring that in. Perfect. Then we're going to add the Drawfee test overlay webcam. Pull that in. And so now all we need to do is, amidst this stuff we've added, we can add in the actual screens. So I'm going to add in here a window capture, which will at present moment be for Photoshop. So we'll call it Photoshop. And it's already capturing Photoshop, which is very kind of it. So then what I'd probably do is we're going to shrink this down. Ram jam it right in there. Then we need to add the webcam. I might actually turn off my webcam and see if I can't get it to work in this other thing so you can actually see what I'm doing. But for now, we'll go video capture device, webcam. It has no properties. It's actually, I've frozen everything. I've broken everything. No, just kidding. It's fine. Let me try this. Turn this off. Cam link. See if we can't get it working here. I don't know if it's going to want to work, but yeah, it's probably not going to show up since we're using it in the other thing, unfortunately, but you can see where the camera would go. Let's actually make Photoshop fit screen there. Make this less unpleasant to look at. So yeah, basically in here now we've got the background with the mugs. We got the little border for our drawing screen. We got the window that captures what we're drawing on. We got the webcam overlay, and the camera would go right there. I can fake it again as an example for you of how it would look. We're just gonna sort of finagle that right in there. Wow, look at that. What a cute little thing. I have to move it so Julia can see. See, it would look like this.
That's cute.
Isn't that kind of nice?
I like it.
Kind of nice, kind of neat.
I like it. Then we could put text at the bottom of important stuff.
We could put text at the bottom of important stuff.
Like if we got upcoming events, we can write it down there.
That's true. That's true. We could add a little element that could be like right here.
Because then it's really only covering some of the border.
Yeah.
Some of the background.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, pretty neat, right? So this is just an example of how you could set this up for yourself. And once again, if you set up an overlay like this with like the independent elements that we have, you can, like I said, group them together. So I could take like the Photoshop overlay and the Photoshop window, and I could group them. I could group selected items, call it drawing. And so then those will turn on and off together. And if I move them, they move together, and it keeps the border where I want it to be. So pretty handy stuff, handy way to organize everything. And that's, you know, well, if people like this overlay, we can use it on our streams. I might continue to like mess around with it in my free time. But this was just to show you like sort of what you can do. And it's not that hard if you have any sort of editing software. Once again, just to like sort of go back over it, it's basically just making a pattern, which, as we learned, is very easy. If you just open a file, establish a pattern by doing edit, define pattern. And then in your other document, you do layer, new fill layer pattern, and that will let you make a pattern and adjust the pattern. Then if you want to make little boxes, all you have to do is mess with the layer styles over here, of which there are plenty to choose from. The ones I've used here are just stroke, drop shadow, bevel, and emboss. But there's other stuff you could mess with as well, and you could also go like crazy fancy with this if you wanted to make like sort of a custom made, custom drawn border. Could be fun to do. I tend to like to keep things fairly simple so it's not too distracting. But you can do it whatever you want. You know, it's a good thing to do is to go watch other streamers, see what their setup looks like. Some people do really well with like a maximalist approach, like Onsta, whose stream is like so fun, but she has like so much going on, but it works with her whole like vibe and demeanor and the feeling of the stream itself. And then, you know, for other people, they just have like literally a webcam in the corner of the screen and no frills whatsoever. And that's another option that could work for you as well. It works for tons of people. I mean, I always shout out Northern Lion as one of my favorite streamers, and all he's got is a webcam and a box that he moves around the screen. And he's you know, a huge streamer, so it doesn't really affect your popularity. But it is just like a nice way to sort of make your stream look like its own unique thing, which I do think helps you out in the end. And then we got the gradient layers as well, just to make it look a little like there's a little bit of movement back there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had to cover. We'll go back to OBS real quick. That looks so confusing now. Hold on. Go back to Photoshop, turn this off just so it looks less confusing. Put me back in my little box here. So yeah, if there's any questions or anything, I will be happy to answer those at this point. If you have anything you want to know about streaming or starting streaming or anything like that, let me know. Otherwise, I'm probably just gonna start wrapping up a little early here because I don't have anything else to talk about. I'm simply done.
Did you cover alert boxes?
I did not cover alert boxes.
I don't know if people are interested in that, but you could.
Alert boxes.
I don't know if we remember how to do that, but...
it's like a website you use.
Oh.
As I recall. Alert boxes. I haven't used an alert box in so long.
I used to have one for Secret Sleepover Society, and then there were too many alerts with the who use.
There were too many alerts. Let me see if I can remember.
Wasn't it like a plugin?
Yeah, it was like a plugin. See if I can remember real quick. It's funny that like I'm here teaching you how to do this and all I'm doing is like Googling what you could easily Google. Google yourself and just read the exact same thing I'm reading. Looks like you can do it within Twitch now as well. I'm trying to remember what I used when I did it. I used like a third-party site that was like sort of a browser source, as I recall. I just don't remember. But if you want my honest opinion, I think Twitch alerts, maybe don't use them. That's my take on it. Was it Stream Elements? I think it was Stream Elements, Suave Peanut. That sounds right to me. I think it was. But generally speaking, I think they can be kind of distracting. And it's like if you want to shout out the alerts, you could just like shout them out, and that could be the alert. But some people really like them. Kind of just depends on what you're into. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Stream Elements is what I used. I remember it was just like you set up the alert, what it was for, and put in like whatever image you wanted to use and text you wanted to use and stuff like that, and it would just pop up. But I think that's going to be it for this stream. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for being patrons at the DrawClass level. It's always super appreciated. And thank you to anyone who's watching this later who's a DrawClass patron. And thank you to people who are watching it much later who aren't a DrawClass patron at all. I still appreciate you watching. I hope some of this info has been like helpful to you. Let me switch back to camera. Whoops. Let me switch back to, there we go. I hope some of this has been helpful. I know, like I said, it's like a ton of information. I genuinely think if you want to get into streaming, the best thing you can do is set up the most basic setup you can and just start streaming regularly. Set up like a schedule you can keep and one that you can follow. And the most important thing is hitting that start streaming button at the same time every week and doing your thing for a consistent amount of time. I feel like that's a lot of people get hung up on a lot of these details, and it's really the most important thing is just like actually doing it and going live. And like all the setup in the world sort of won't help you. Baby camera is still there. Let me just put this on my shoulder. Put little Jacob on my shoulder to help me sign off on this class. But yeah, streaming's a lot of fun. I recommend doing it. I think it's really gratifying and enjoyable to do. And it's scary at first when you're getting into it, but I think if you give yourself some time and give yourself, like a month of regular streaming, after that month, it'll start feeling like second nature to you, and you can hopefully grow your own little community. It's very rewarding and enjoyable to do. But yeah, and if anyone sees this and has any questions and you're in the Patreon Discord, feel free to shoot me a question and ask the hosts, and I'll answer you there, or in the DrawClass chat. I could answer you there as well. But that's going to be it for me, and as also for Tiny Jacob. We're both done. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you. We'll see you when we see you. Bye everybody.